Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Citizen Exclusive. Here is where we talk to industry captains from the public and private sectors, both national and international. And today, we have the privilege of hosting Ms. Rosalynn Mndolwa-Mworia. She is the newly appointed Managing Director of Mwananchi Communications Limited. Rosalynn, welcome to the Citizen Exclusive.
Thank you very much, Mpoki.
How does it feel? There's a lot of spotlight on you right now at the moment. You're the Managing Director of Mwananchi Communications Limited. It's quite a privilege because you're the first woman to hold this role, to steer this company. And people want to know, what does that feel like for you, professionally, but also personally? Just tell us what it feels like.
Yes, thank you very much for this opening question. And I think it's one that I have also followed online to see that it's a big buzz. People are eager to know what exactly is it that I'm going to bring on board. How am I reflecting on this new appointment? And both on a personal and professional front, it is a milestone for me. It is a milestone because on a personal front, I am exceeding my personal best. This is the first time ever that I am a CEO of a multinational company, and therefore from that perspective, I feel very privileged, very honored, and with a lot of responsibility on my shoulders as well to pivot not only my personal best, but also the company and the legacy that this company has in Tanzania. Mwananchi Communication is an industry leader by its own rights, and being given this opportunity to lead such a company is another milestone to taking it now into the digital era, accelerate that growth, because honestly, it's a direction that the company had already started on with so much that has happened, and I'm just here to accelerate that. So professionally, it's also another milestone and a challenge for me to take it forward. So altogether, honored and privileged to be of service.
Oh, perfect. Now, you're entering into a legacy media that's in transformation. And when you talk about Mwananchi Communications Limited, most people know it through its three main products. That is Mwananchi, the newspaper, the Citizen, and Mwanaspoti. However, the company is in transition. We're moving into the digital era that you've talked about a bit. Now, tell us what your strategy is. How are you going to ensure that this transformation that is being experienced right now from an industry level, but now specifically through Mwananchi, how are you going to ensure that it is effective enough? So what will your first 100 days look like? What will be your focus?
All right. So in terms of where we are right now, like I said, we are already on that journey. It's a journey. So my biggest input at this point in time is to lay the foundations, solid foundations that are going to take us onto the next frontier of digital transformation. With that, what am I planning to do? So cultural transformation is key. Cultural transformation in terms of aligning our values to ensure that our teams are with the right skill sets and they have the right mindsets to accelerate themselves onto this digital era that we're onto. So cultural transformation is key. My first 100 days are going to look at aligning some of those values, our key values, onto the direction that the company is on. So that's one. But digital integration is key. Digital integration of our content. Yes. We have robust, rich content. And how do we best take that onto the multiple platforms that are out there, right? And therefore, transforming ourselves from inside in terms of our digital content and cutting that digital content for multimedia consumption is going to be a key area in this first 100 days. But also stakeholder engagement, last but not least. This area is key. Above and beyond employees, how best can we interface and engage with the various stakeholders out there, from policymakers to suppliers, to clients, to our own readers? How best can we engage with them and listen to their inputs and have that form part of our strategy going forward and make sure that we are future ready?
Okay, now beyond media, what some people might not know is that Mwananchi as a company has also ventured into other business portfolios. For example, we have events, there is the courier business, but there's also contract printing. So that means your mandate is not only to steer forward the media portfolio, but the entire business venture. How are you going to unlock these other potentials? Because a lot of focus is on media. However, as a business, we need to ensure that all these other verticals are also performing well. What is the strategy in unlocking the entire ventures that are affiliated with the company?
Amazing, good question, because these verticals, they actually a unique value advantage that MCL has. Integrating these verticals and making sure that we work in a way that adds value to the various stakeholders that we look to serve and impact is where the strategy is going to be. So from courier to events, how do we, for example, use events as a place or a platform to create digital content that can serve not only the corporates and the clients that we're engaging with on that platform, but multiple other stakeholders. So integration of these verticals is a strategy, and we're looking to be able to do that in a way that still disseminates accurate information, fair information, but also upholds integrity in the way we report.
Okay. Now, you've assumed leadership at a very critical time for Tanzania. 2025 is an election year, and oftentimes media plays a critical role in informing the public. Now, that means that there's going to be a lot of pressure, not only from the consumers, but also from other stakeholders into seeing how exactly is Rosalynn going to lead Mwananchi during an election year, because media is the fourth estate. We're supposed to be the watchdog. We're supposed to hold the government accountable. But as a CEO of a media company, you also have a mandate to ensure that there is that constructive relationship between the company and also the government. Now, in such a complex time, an election year, how are you going to manage this to ensure that media remains accountable, holding the government accountable, but also ensuring that there is that good relation with the government?
Right. This question pops up in everyone's mind following my announcement. Everyone has been asking, you're coming in at a very difficult time. But okay, difficult time is a perception that they have, yes. It is a pivotal moment, yes. But maintaining journalistic integrity is paramount. This is why we're here. I will continue to be a watchdog alongside the entire team, MCL, and the entire setup. We are here to be watchdogs. We are here to tell stories that are impactful and direct the discourse of conversations. And therefore, that is one. We'll continue to be watchdogs. We'll focus on fact-based reporting and being unbiased in the way we report our news. Ultimately, we're looking to have a constructive dialogue about the discourse of this nation, and that is our mandate. I think if you go back to when MCL came into being, I think in 1999, it was the President Mkapa that invited the energy group to come and set up here. And what was he looking for there? It's exactly what we're looking to be able to deliver even during this difficult time, perceived difficult time of elections. But we have to engage the government proactively and respectfully. Right? And that is going to be key in how we go to market. But all the while, we're looking to ensure a democratic process is upheld in the most professional way possible without compromising our independence. That is key. Ultimately, it's about balancing accountability and collaboration, constructive collaboration with the important stakeholders.
Okay, and so at the moment, how do you feel the relationship between Mwananchi Communications Limited is with the government? Is it in a very good space where you're comfortable enough to address the government, to sort of look into some of the grievances that media has? For example, we understand that there are a lot of debts that the government owes media, so that means there are billions of Tanzanian shillings that are supposed to be paid to media that have not yet been paid. How are you going to engage with the ministries that are in charge of this specific portfolio into ensuring that this matter is resolved?
Right. So I think the government has made strides which are actually open and transparent in how they are looking to ensure that this industry thrives. Recently, we heard the President Samia, Her Excellency, President Samia Suluhu Hassan, pushing for debts to be paid. What does that mean? It means there's a clear recognition that the private entities that are depending on monies that are coming from government, from their advertising, etc., need to be sustained. And therefore, whatever is outstanding that needs to be paid to us, she's pushed for those debts to be paid. And the freedom of speech, the way we continue to engage with government on this front is constructive. It's a balancing act at the end of the day. It's a balancing act, but we will continue to be watchdogs in this space.
Okay, now let's talk a bit about your background. You have quite a vast experience in the corporate world. You've worked in logistics, there's telecom, there's also the financial services. Now, how do you think these experiences will come in handy now that you're into the media space, you're leading a different business line? How do you think these skills will come in handy, and how do you plan to maximize them?
Right. So these skills, despite what I've kind of picked online, that she has no media background in media, I think it's quite on the contrary.
Yeah.
The fact that I have a vast background in various other industries is actually a strength. My experience in telco has taught me how to work with data. It has taught me how, connectivity is lived in today's world, right? So real-time communication, how important that is. That experience comes from telco. And therefore, I look forward to harnessing that and pivoting into the media space, where we're also seeing those similar behaviors and trends as being paramount. Logistics, if you think about logistics is about precision. Logistics is about making sure that a client's package arrives on time, and you design that whole value chain and supply chain for the customer to deliver. So logistics also comes in handy because our customers, our readers as well, they need timely news, but we have verticals within MCL that have elements of logistics, such as the core business. But financial services is about strategy. It's about building and steering business performance. That is going to come in handy. So combining all of that, it will enable me to build a very resilient organization that leverages all these experiences and then considers what I find on board here at MCL to propel company performance even further.
Okay. Now let's talk about corporate social investment, CSI. You worked for Vodacom Foundation, which is a purpose-driven foundation, and media also has a mandate to ensure there is social development. How are you going to elevate the social impactfulness of MCL?
Correct. So ultimately, media is a tool for empowerment and educating the audiences. And my experience, bridging that experience onto media, I feel like our role is to ensure that we amplify those voices of the underserved. We amplify voices of people that don't have platforms. So when it comes to social development, media would come in from that perspective, but also nurturing media literacy. Right? Nurturing media literacy, ensuring that it is understood what media represents, what is our role, and close the gaps that are there. But also supporting initiatives that address societal challenges. There are so many socio-economic challenges that Tanzania faces, but there are also solutions that are being propelled by not only government, but the civil society and other players and private sector players as well. How do we support those initiatives in addressing overall challenges? So through strategic partnerships and community-centric projects, we aim to be more than just a news outlet. We aim to do partnerships or get into partnerships that actually get us in front and center stages of progressing this subject in our society. So we aspire to be a catalyst for positive social impact, right? And change in this society.
Okay, so you talked about amplifying the underserved voices. Now you're entering into a space that has a limited visibility for women. Now you have become the first woman to lead Mwananchi Communications Limited as managing director, and I believe you're one of very few women here in the country leading a major media company. What is your message to a young woman out there who's aspiring to hold a leadership position in media and beyond? What is that one message that you have for that young woman?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question, Poki. And I think on that front, for women, I would like it to be known that leadership is not reserved for a select few. Leadership is for anyone who is willing and is ready to take on that challenge for themselves and leave an impact for the people that they are looking to inspire and leave a legacy for themselves. So on this front, Mpoki, with young women, authenticity is key and resilience is equally important. Authenticity in the sense of women are very socialized to be nurturers, to put themselves last and not be bold. What I would like to challenge young women is to be authentic to who they truly are and to be very unapologetic about what they're bringing to the table. And therefore express yourself with confidence, confidence that comes from knowing who you are and what you're bringing to the table, trusting yourself, that's authenticity. Trust yourself and break molds that you're finding along your way. But being very resilient and persistent as well in investing in yourself, learn new skills, watch trends, and make sure that you are equipping yourself to lead in the sense of knowing exactly where you're taking your vision. What is your vision? Be bold about what your vision is. Have a bold vision. Don't be scared of your dreams. If your dreams are not scaring you, they're not bold enough. So I would say be bold. This is a big one.
Okay, so you've answered that in a more subjective point of view. Now, looking at Mwananchi as a media company, what role do you see it playing in amplifying women voices and in stories across the country?
Correct. So, I mean, that mandate carries itself beautifully into the space, into that particular space. At Mwananchi, as a woman leader, as women leaders inside the company, we must make sure that parity in our storytelling is also featured. And therefore, women's stories that were otherwise not told, we will go and uncover those stories. We'll go and make sure that the impact and the roles that women play in this society are coming to the forefront. And we will nurture this from our cultural ways of existing with one another inside the company first. And therefore, empowering women inside the company is key for me. Making sure that the leadership positions are also open to them. If it means they are coached and mentored and trained so they are capable of taking these roles, those opportunities will be given to them. Ultimately, we will then have that robust capability inside and an appreciation of our role as women in spaces and extend that to the community, making sure that voices of these women in whatever pockets they are in the community are amplified through our platforms.
Okay, now let's talk about partnerships and collaboration, because that has become an integral way of how media and other businesses in Tanzania and beyond operate. Mwananchi is an industry leader within media space. What are some of the potential partnerships or collaboration are you most excited about to unlock as you take on this massive role?
Right. So Mwananchi is a digital-first content platform. And it's inevitable that we will go into partnerships. I am looking forward to partnering with the private sector. I'm looking forward to partnering with governments in co-creating content that can be pushed onto our platforms to reach the various audiences in formats that our audiences prefer to consume this information and this content. So co-creating narratives for public sector that are impactful. Talk about telco or the manufacturing industry or the mining industry. I'm looking forward to going in there and collaborate with these players to create narratives, and it will be full of transparency. It will show that what we will be bringing in as MCL is our journalistic capabilities. And we'll partner with these entities to tell their story using our platforms and leveraging our professionalism in journalism.
Okay. Now, something that is of interest about you is that you're an executive coach, and I've had the privilege of attending one of your training sessions. Can you now tell us, you're taking on a role of leading an entire organization. How will that experience, that expertise as an executive coach help you shape your leadership as you embark on this role?
Amazing. I am an executive coach, yes, and I have really been shaped by the coaching philosophy in my leadership style. So empathy, active listening, leading from the heart, and showing up in spaces where I lead. My leadership style is very situational. If I need to be stern and make decisions quickly, I will have to do that. If I need to be more empathetic and listen and encourage and build a person, I will do that. Ultimately, I believe that people are looking to impact and make impact in areas where they are planted, and they have potential. Everyone has potential. As a leader, my role is to uncover that potential in the people that I lead and inspire change in them and action, impactful action from them.
Okay. Now, when you become CEO and as a woman, people expect you to be, bold, fearless. Can you tell us, how is Rosalynn outside the office? Is it the same Rosalynn that people see in the office? What are there two sides to Rosalynn? Can you tell us what you're like outside the corporate setup?
Outside the corporate setup. I think consistency is key, and I believe I'm a very consistent person. What you see is what you get.
Really?
Whether at work or outside of work, right?
Okay.
And that is in how I engage, how I hope to inspire, how I am inspired by others. I allow myself to experience new things. Recently, last year, I went and climbed the mountain Kilimanjaro all the way to the peak, and I thank God that I was amongst those that actually managed to get to the peak on their first try. It's not guaranteed. Yes, it took preparation, and being open to being guided as well. So that is how I am on the job and outside the job.
Okay. So let's say for an employee who wants to engage with Rosalynn outside the office, there are certain matters that you want to talk to your boss, but you prefer a setting that is not too formal. What would be your ideal setting to have just a conversation with a colleague?
Well, again, if it's a business matter and it requires us to be in the office, let's be in the office.
Okay.
If it requires us to be off premises, I'm quite open to that. I am one who is not rigid to setups or the status quo, right? If it suits the needs of those intended to be led in that particular moment, and we need to tweak things and make them comfortable so that they can open up, I am very open to that. I think my track record shows that. I am a collaborative, supportive leader, right? So I'm willing to meet you where you are and build from there.
Okay. Now, your journey is still unfolding, but you have achieved so much up until this stage. Looking back, what do you consider to be your proudest moment in your career journey? And also, what was that moment where you learned a lot and considered it to be, like a life lesson?
Very good question. I think my proudest moments, not just moments, have always been when I surprise myself and realize how resistant I am, which means how resistant we all are, right? When you are pushed against the wall, and you have to deliver something that you've had no prior experience on, whether it's a corporate crisis, whether it's a new law that has come into effect that requires you to be compliant in the shortest time possible, whether it is a new strategic direction the company is taking that had forced me to be innovative and resourceful in the way I build a strategy so that it aligns with that new company direction. In all these instances, I raised to the occasion, and my proudest moments are embedded in those challenges. And therefore, my words to my coaches and mentees always is where there is difficulties and challenges is where your growth is going to come. And I can think of multiple instances where I am proud of having showed up with a lot of resilience, but also collaboration with others has been key in those moments.
Okay. Now, looking at the broader media landscape, and now we're talking about a platform reset, we have seen a change in consumer behavior, but also access to information, which has necessitated media to go into this transformation session. Mwananchi Communications Limited has embarked on that. It started around 2016. It's still an ongoing journey. Let's talk a bit more now about how the storytelling, content creation, for Mwananchi specifically, has changed. We are the first mainstream media in Tanzania to make our audiences pay for content. So we've put some of the content on the website, that is the Citizen, Mwananchi, Mwanaspoti, behind a paywall for a select few. Now, there is still that people are wondering that why would I pay for content yet I can access the same on social media? Can you now tell us what is Mwananchi's transformation vision? And as we're looking to monetize on our digital platforms, what are we promising the audiences?
All right. So, very good question. And I think this is where journalism meets innovation, in the sense that we bring in the journalistic competence, but we have to also, in an innovative way, meet our customers where they are. This is on digital platforms, which receive content, versatile content. So it's not your traditional, and this is why we're making the move from traditional print and having a big dependency on traditional print to now digital first. And digital first means first we have to have our own skills. We have to upskill ourselves on our journalistic ways to ensure that we are able to capture content, and whether it's news or informative, journalistic outputs about society and development, etc., in a way that a consumer can consume it. So what are the behaviors that our customers, our readers are telling us about themselves? This is where AI tools come in. This is where data intelligence comes in, where we find them where they are, which is on digital platforms. What behaviors are they telling us about themselves? And therefore, how do we reinvent ourselves and use innovation how do we innovate to meet them where they are, right? So behind paywalls, this is how we're going to monetize that opportunity. In this market, paying for such services is a challenge. And I bring my experience from telco in seeing how segmentation is very important. We have this data. We know what our customers are telling us about themselves. And therefore, behind that paywall, we will put different products that speak to different audiences differently. And therefore, making sure that we are maintaining value for all readers that are behind the paywall, so much that they feel the need to pay for that content, or they don't feel like we are extracting from them, because we are giving them something that is valuable for them. If you pay for your services behind our paywall, you will not get ads. And the ads that you will get will be targeted to you. They'll be relevant to you. And therefore, this is a place that you will want to keep on going back to, because it's giving you information that is helping you progress or is relevant for you.
Yes, yes. So some of the comments that we often get whenever people talk about media in Tanzania is the fact that investigative journalism does not seem to feature quite prominently in our storytelling. Mwananchi, as a content creation our company, is mandated to ensure that we provide enough investigative journalism content to our audiences. But investigative journalism comes with its own risks. We understand that there are certain topics that are seen to be topics that journalists tend to stay away from due to safety reasons. Now, I want you to address two things. What is your promise in terms of Mwananchi as a company covering investigative journalism, but also, what do you say about safety of journalists out there? Mwananchi as a company, we have unfortunately experienced such an incident where one of our journalists, Azori Gwanda, disappeared in 2017, and up until today, that is almost 8 years later, he is nowhere to be seen. So that raises a question of how safety journalists are in the company or in media in general. As the CEO, what is your promise on investigative journalism, but also ensuring safety of journalists?
So I would go back to what our mandate is. Our mandate is being a watchdog for government. Our mandate is to be the voice, to provide a platform for voices for the underserved or those that are otherwise do not have platforms to be heard. Our mandate is also to build this nation in terms of informing it, and this is where investigative journalism comes in. Maintaining that democratic process in all that we do, being very professional as we embark in, onto all of these mandates. And therefore, I spoke earlier about having proactive and respectful engagement with governments and working collaboratively with policymakers to tackle spaces where perhaps regulations are not clear enough or supportive enough of the industry, et cetera, et cetera. And this won't be just for Mwananchi, but it's an industry issue that we'll take together as an industry to position ourselves on, to give our position on some of these key issues. And therefore, investigative journalism, going back to that point, is a key area, one of sustainable growth even for this company, right? Our consumers are telling us more and more that or rather customers, they're telling us more and more that they're looking for information that empowers them. And for us, we want to be able to live that impact and that legacy. And therefore, we will not shy away from embarking on investigative journalism. And we'll also have exclusive stories that we'll put behind our paywalls, where customers who are looking to consume certain types of exclusive content will be able to find it there, collaborating with government, collaborating with private sector, collaborating with civil society, and being a platform for voices to be heard. That is our mandate, and we will uphold it.
So, Rosalynn, now let's talk about ESG, that is environment, social, and governance, and the role that media plays in ensuring that the private sector and also government effectively implement ESG commitments. We're looking at how do we create a more sustainable world. Tell us, what role will Mwananchi play working hand in hand with the private sector, but also government as far as ESG is concerned?
Right. Thank you for that question, Poki. I think when it comes to ESG, we go back to it being a subject that is an evolving subject. It's a new concept. A lot of stakeholders are now coming to terms with it and understanding and processing it for what it is. So first and foremost, as our mandate as a media company is to educate. So we would look at that as an opportunity to collaborate, partner with various stakeholders, public and private, to ensure that education on ESG actually reaches our audiences. But also, we have our own sustainability targets as MCL, as well as a part of NMG, a listed company out of Nairobi. And therefore, we will be responsible sustainability champions ourselves. We will continue on that journey to be responsible sustainability champions. The fact that we are making a transition from being traditionally print to now digital is a journey towards that, right? Reducing our carbon emissions. We will tell that story in a way that continues to build trust and continues to to put ourselves in a light where we are a sustainable company to partner with in Tanzania and beyond.
Okay. Now, in closing, tell us your vision for media in Tanzania. And now that we're talking about this transformation, digital disruption, we're seeing how media has been impacted. What does the future look like, and what role do you see MCL playing in that future?
The role that I see MCL already assuming today is one of trailblazing. We are already a digital-first company. When it comes to our content creation, we are making that transition onto being, in the next 10 years, for example, 20 years, the story will be different. And therefore, I find us in a very pivotal situation right now as a company. And all of us, not just myself, but the entire team, the leadership team at Mwananchi, and the entire company, we're going to transform ourselves and embrace the times we're in. So we will continue to lead Tanzania media in being digital first and embracing innovation, and trailblaze across our Tanzania borders onto the rest of Africa. Okay, well, Rosalynn, we'll end on that note. Thank you very much.
You were with me, Mpoki Thompson. I was with Rosalynn Mndolwa-Mworia, the Managing Director of Mwananchi Communications Limited, and also my boss. Till next time, bye-bye.